Hello everyone, today I have for you AK-47s. Alright, so let's talk about AKs, specifically pros, cons, and what drew me to these two models in particular. Let's start with our M92. This is the M92 ZPAP Alpha by Zastava. If you are looking at M92s, there are a number of different gens, so make sure you're comparing apples to apples. This is not the same as earlier ZPAPs. There are some changes that increase quality but also increase cost. Some features in particular that appealed to me are the 1.5mm receiver, the bulged trunnion, the cold hammer forged chrome lined barrel. You won't find that in just every ZPAP, especially the older ones. And also this one has a 1913 rail on the top and on the back. Makes it easy to mount an optic and a brace. Now this brace is a 3D printed one. This is called the Booligan brace. You know it's legit because it has a Velcro strap. It might not be the coolest looking one in the world, but it works and it saved me a lot of money. So why I thought this was a good buy is Zastava makes great AKs, and in the pistol format, it helps with the overall weight. You know, AKs are heavy, so this one saves you a little bit of weight, and with the 10-inch barrel, 7.62 by 39 still performs really well. You're not going to lose a lot ballistically. However, some downsides are the weight that is there, it makes it very front heavy. Because, well, you've got a lot of weight here in the receiver, and 3D printed plastics, if you don't know, are very lightweight, so there's almost no weight back here. And do we need that weight? I'm not really sure. 1.5 millimeters versus 1 millimeter for your standard AKMs. This may be a half-pound heavier than a more standard AKM, and not really sure that's necessary. Also, with the 10-inch barrel, yeah, the bullets perform really well, but it is brutal. It's loud. You get gigantic fireballs from it. Even during the day, you can feel the heat wash over you. Your red dot window will just fill with orange. So, yeah, it is brutal. Now, the muzzle device here is the Midwest Industries M92 blast diverter. Helps a little bit with sending some of that blast forward. Your factory muzzle device is this booster, which does basically the same thing, but not quite as effectively, I think. This helps make it a little bit more shootable for me, and it's a little bit shorter, which is nice because, with the pistol, you expect to save some length over the rifle, but this muzzle device, this booster is very long. Well, let me show you. You're not really saving a whole lot of length over the rifle. So for being a 6-inch shorter barrel, it's not as much shorter than the rifle as you might think. And if you can imagine, I've changed this muzzle device. I'll talk more about that later, but if I just had the slant brake on here, which is very short, it would only be about that long. Also with the Zastava Serbian or Yugo pattern rifles, you're a little more limited in terms of what kind of furniture and muzzle devices you can put on. They're built to a different pattern, so you can't use the majority of AKM parts out there. Now the PSA rifle, this is a GF3. This is the Moekov edition with the Magpul furniture, which I really like. I like that the handguard gives you a little bit extra length. It has M-lock slots. You really need M-lock on a rifle, don't you now? The grip is better than your typical communist AK grip, right? Although Zastava really has good grips too. This is the plum color furniture. Looks pretty dark, almost black in this indoor light, but outside it looks really great. I'll roll in a picture. The stock is very comfortable. It has a huge length of pull adjustment. You can pull this out and it's longer than you can get your typical AR stock at full extension. It's at a great height for if you put an optic on. You've got QD options, although I had to buy this QD insert. That's kind of lame, Magpul. though they do include one here. The stock folds, it folds to the right, which I like because it won't get in the way of your optic. You know, if you have the side optic mount attached there. Now this was a blem model. I have to say it really looks great. I couldn't find any blem on it except for this ding on the stock. And this isn't even a PSA part, you know, it's a Magpul part. I'm sure they could have exchanged it if they wanted to. I don't have a problem with it. Yeah, it looks great, and let's face it, looks are important, right? I mean, I know a lot of people will say for your first AK, buy a Wasser, but I mean, really, Wassers look like they were made, finished, and assembled by prisoners in a Russian gulag. I mean, yes, they work. I know they're from an actual military factory, but unless you think that kind of crude look is part of the AK aesthetic that you like, I would say get something better. Don't settle for a Wasser. So can I say the PSA is better? Well, I don't know. It's not battle proven, obviously, but I don't get the hate that PSA sometimes gets. You know, they're making AKs, ARs, and other guns in the US at prices that are cheap enough to get guns in the hands of pretty much anyone who wants one. Maybe their QC sometimes lacks, but I think they're really trying, and they're a great company to have around even if you don't personally buy from them. And if we're being honest, this rifle's not going to Afghanistan. It's not going to have 50,000 rounds shot through it. In fact, I'd be willing to bet that most gun owners don't even put 500 rounds through their guns. That's not 500 per year, that's like 500 over the entire length of time they own their guns. And I'd even be willing to bet that a lot of guns don't even have 100 rounds put through them. So let's kind of be honest with our needs. Although this isn't a go-to-war rifle for me, it'll suit my needs just fine. And anyway, no AK for me is a go-to-war rifle. I'm an AR guy. Maybe I'll talk more about that in another video. Just a few last things to cover. So this brake is the VG6 Epsilon brake. I replaced the slant brake, which looks cool and does a good job of preventing muzzle climb, but the VG6 just has a nicer recoil impulse. And a word about the triggers. Both triggers pull at about 3 pounds. There's no defined wall, really. It's just pull until they break. Show you. It's very light. I will say, though, the PSA is smoother. In summary, either of these AKs would serve you well. If you want a well-built rifle at an entry-level price, the PSA is like the new Wasser, especially with the escalating price of imports today. And if you want a pistol that has a military pedigree, is built tough, and should last you forever, the M92 fits the bill. That's all I have for today. Thanks for watching.